first, Muta, let me greet you and all of your wonderful listeners with the greetings of peace. I am so honored and happy to be back in Jamaica again and to be on a show with my wonderful brother Mutabaruka.
Greetings, my viewers and subscribers. I hope you all are doing good. Hope you all are doing great. So your boy here come across this one wherein it's a big interview between Ministry Louis Farrakhan and Mutabaruka plus more. So guys, this one is gonna be really a warm and interesting one. So you wanna stay tuned. And don't forget, I'm here on the Black Unity program. So feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you're new. With that being said, let's go ahead and hear what Ministry Louis Farrakhan and Mutabaruka got to say in this one. My people, let's walk.
Farrakhan, I'm a brethren, you know. Yes, I'm a brethren. Trust me, I'm a brethren. But here I know, he must kid. Farrakhan has skid Rasta. When I say skid, maybe like he must slide. You know, like one of them water world slide. Where the water does a wash him away. Yes, Farrakhan has skid. He must skid from couple years now. I don't know if it's him sickness or what, but him lose it, Rasta. Yes, him lose it. And tonight we're going to play something where I'm going to show you say the man I lose it. No, a whole heap of people don't know, say he was a Calypsonian, you know.
Yes, at one time that is true. Yeah. But first, Muta, let me greet you and all of your wonderful listeners with the greetings of peace. I am so honored and happy to be back in Jamaica again and to be on a show with my wonderful brother Mutabaruka. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's always good to have you, especially when you come to Jamaica, you know. As I was saying, that your name as a Calypsonian, because there's a lot of people now who's listening to the program who have never heard you, because, you know, it's a long time now since you came here, and there's a more young people is listening to the Cutting Edge right now. So I just want to take them back in your early years as a Calypso. Oh, your father is also a Jamaican, right?
Yes, sir.
Where in Jamaica your father come from?
From Law Street in Kingston.
Down at the south.
Yes.
Yes. So you have any experience in Law Street, or you just went to America and that was it?
No, I was born in the United States.
Yes.
And, of course, my father was from here, and my mother is from St. Kitts, and my grandmother from Nevis. And so I wanted to come into the Caribbean to pay my respect, because it's the Caribbean people that nurtured me when I was young and gave me the kind of mind to fight for justice and freedom for our people.
Yeah.
So my father was a Garveyite. He was a disciple of Mr. Garvey in New York, and my mother, of course, was on the fringe of that movement, but my uncle was also a follower of Mr. Garvey, and it was my uncle that introduced me to Mr. Garvey, and because when I went to his home in New York, usually in the West Indian home in the United States, we would always see a picture of Queen Elizabeth and King George. So he was always on the mantelpiece in my home, and a Caucasian-looking Jesus. So when I went to New York to meet with my uncle, that was the first time I saw the picture of a black man prominently displayed in the house. So I asked my uncle, "Who is this man?" And my uncle said, "He's a man that came to unite black people." So I was just a little fella, 11 years old. So my uncle got a chair so I could stand up in the chair and drink in the features of this wonderful man who came to unite us. So when I asked my uncle, "Where is he, that I may go and meet him?" my uncle said that he had passed away. And tears fell from my eyes, because ever since I was a little boy, in my Anglican church, I was always looking for someone who would deliver black people from the harsh oppression that we were under. So I would always ask my Sunday school teacher that if God sent Moses to deliver the children of Israel and Joshua to lead them into the promised land, and God delivered the Hebrews from the Babylonian servitude, why has not God sent someone to deliver us? So when I saw the face of Mr. Garvey, I thought, he is the deliverer that I have been looking for. So when I learned he had passed, my hope was dashed. But then 9 years later, or 8 years later, when I was 19 years of age, I heard of Elijah Muhammad, and I met Malcolm X in Boston. And I was invited to hear their lectures, but I was somewhat terrified of the image of Brother Malcolm. And so it was another year or so before I was playing in a nightclub in Chicago, headlining. It was called Calypso Follies, and I was the featured performer at the Blue Angel nightclub in Chicago. And while I was driving one day, I ran into a friend of mine, and I jumped out of the cab to go and greet him, and he was there for the Muslim Savior's Day convention. And that's when I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and later went to hear Malcolm X. And when I heard Brother Malcolm, I heard a black man talk like I had never heard a black man speak before. I never wanted to necessarily leave the church or change my religion. But since the church at that time was not seemingly interested in the liberation of our people from the oppressive hand of our oppressors, then I decided that I would become a Muslim, and I did and grew in Islam. But as I grew in Islam, I could see the common thread that runs in all of the major religions of the world. And so my aim now is not so much to convert people to this or that, but really the Quran teaches us that all of us are created in the nature of God, and that nature of God is submission to His will. So whether we call ourselves Christian or Buddhist or whatnot, our nature is to submit our will to do the will of God. We are absolutely the righteous by nature, but made wicked by circumstances. All right. So I'm happy to be here and happy to be with you, Brother Muta.
Yeah, man, long time.
But listen, I saw a documentary on Jamaica that dealt with the great debt that Jamaica is owing.
Life and Debt is called.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
And I just saw it maybe a week or so ago, and it touched me very, very deeply.
Yeah.
And of course, you were prominently mentioned and heard in that documentary.
Yeah, we helped to shape it, you know.
Well, you shaped it wonderful to tell the real story of Jamaica.
Yeah, but I want to go back to what you just said a while ago about getting like more experience. You now come to the understanding that the idea is not religion. Does that mean that you mean like color also? Because there was a time when people hear of the black Muslims rather than Nation of Islam, it drive a kind of anti-white, anti-Semitic thread in the minds of the people. Coming from where you were and being where you is now, is that the same idea that run through? Are you saying no due to experience that?
Well, you know, Muta, that as black people, the one thing we share in common since our fathers were brought into slavery in the Western Hemisphere, the taking away from us of our names, our language, our culture, our history, our God and our religion, we were turned inside out and upside down, where we began to hate the color of our skin, the flatness of our nose, the thickness of our lips, the kinkiness of our hair, and we were made to see ourselves as less than what other people are. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had to teach us the value of our blackness, that we are not black because we are cursed. We're black because we are the original life on this planet. And as the Bible teaches, from one blood came all nations. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we are that one blood that has produced all of the races that are on our planet. And so when they want to discover where life began, they don't necessarily go to Europe or to Asia. They have gone into Africa, and it is from Africa that they have found the origin of human life. And that origin is a black man. It was called Samuel Aliki, found bones there, and he called him Zinjanthropus.
Yes.
And Zinj mean black, and Anthropus mean man. And you know, and I know, that the Caucasian people have oppressed the darker people of the world. And so in our beginning, it was like Jesus saying to his disciples, "Go ye not into the way of the Gentiles, or even into the way of the Samaritans, but go ye to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." That was a very narrow and specific mission. And the mission of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was first to the black man, because the black man of all of the members of the human family are in the worst condition with respect to doing for self, creating food, clothing, shelter for ourselves and for our people. We are behind in that. So the color thing was absolutely necessary to make us to see ourselves as someone of value that the Creator created as the Father of all human beings. But when color becomes your means of judgment of the intent or the heart or the mind of a human being, then we run into problems. So as we grow and we mature, as Jesus said, take this gospel into all the nations, to every nation, kindred, and tongue. And so there's a universality to the message of Elijah Muhammad.
So in that being the case, then, when we reflect on the message to the black man, as written by Elijah Muhammad, and it speaks of the origin of the white race and how the white race come about, how would you view that now?
I view it the same as I viewed it then.
Yes.
Because there is no white without black.
Yes.
If you had two white people, they can only produce themselves. They cannot produce the yellow man or the brown man, and they certainly can't produce the black man. So one of their great geneticists discovered in his study of genetics that dark skin is dominant, light skin is recessive.
Yes.
Dark eyes are dominant, light eyes are recessive. And he said you can take the recessive from the dominant, but you cannot get the dominant from the recessive. So in the beginning was darkness, and then came light.
Yes.
And in the beginning was black, and then came white.
So in the thesis about the origin of the white race, where it is given over to a man by the name of Jacob, I think it's Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you explain that as it is written and what you see it is now in this time?
You know, in the scriptures, you get a man called Jacob.
Yes.
Jacob and Jacob is the same.
Yeah.
Jacob wrestled with the angel. And after he wrestled with the angel and prevailed, his name was changed from Jacob to Israel.
Yeah.
So here today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, this Jacob that wrestled with the angel, it really is referring to the making of the white race. Mm-hmm. And they're coming onto the planet to produce a civilization different from the civilization of the original people. And we are now the victims of a civilization that is so different from the way of God and the way of the righteous.
Right,
and Muta, the saying of Elijah Muhammad is as true today as it was then. However, when we say Israel, if Israel represents the white race, then who are the children of Israel that were in bondage in Egypt under Pharaoh? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that is a symbolic, prophetic picture of black people today as children under the white race. We look to them like children look to their parents to provide us with jobs, with education, with food, clothing, and shelter. This is what a child does with a parent.
Yes.
But when we mature, we leave our father's house and we produce these things for ourselves. So it is time now for the children of Israel to be free from their domination over our lives. They're guiding our destiny and locking up our future in them.
All right.
Now we got to go free.
I don't want to ponder on this too long, but as I said, there's a lot of young ones who's listening that never hear that reasoning before. Is Mr. Farrakhan saying that the angel who Jacob struggled with is not from the black race?
No, the angel was definitely from the black race.
Yes. So how did the white race come about in that struggle?
Through well, when you say through the struggle, he says,
meaning Jacob fought with the angel and overcome.
That's right.
And then it brought about the new name, Israel. So what I'm asking now is that if this is the origin, if that's the time of the origin of the white race, what metamorphosized at that time to bring about the white race?
Well, if you look at the Bible, you have different symbols explaining the same truth, but under different pictures. For instance, if you go back to Genesis, where the creation of man begins.
Yeah.
You have God creating everything in the book of Genesis. Then when it comes to the 26th verse of the first chapter, it says, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and give them power and dominion over the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and every creeping thing that crawls upon the earth. And this is relating to the making of the first man called Adam. But if you read carefully the history, there's someone called the pre-Adamites. And the pre-Adamites are not Caucasian. The pre-Adamites are the aboriginal people of the earth. So the Adam represents the white race that came to being, and they have been in dominion and power over the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and over every creeping thing that crawls.
Yes.
And they were given the right to rule for a season until the coming of God, who would end their rule and domination and set up the kingdom of God on earth.
All right, so you're saying that Adam was a Caucasian. That's what you're saying. All right.
That Adam.
Yeah, the Adam in the beginning.
Yes.
So the angel that Israel fought, which was like maybe 2,000 years after, according to the scriptures.
But it's really a picture of the same event that produced them.
Okay. So you're saying you don't separate it by 2,000 years then, or more?
No, because 2,000 years from Adam, you come to the birth of Moses.
Well,
Moses is 2,000 years after Adam. And if you look in the Bible, it puts the creation or the making of Adam at 4004 BC. So that's 6,000 years ago.
Yes.
But the earth is millions and billions of years old.
Yeah.
And so are we. So the Bible calls us the Ancient of Days. Not having years or time, they cannot even find the beginning of the black man. We are that old.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the reasoning between the first man, Adam, as a European, as a Caucasian, and then the Israel and Jacob fighting with the angel. You are saying you're putting them in the same era, in the same time space.
In this sense.
That's what you're doing.
Once the man is made,
yes,
he has a work to do.
Yeah.
And what happened after, if you go back into Genesis, you see Adam was put out of the garden.
Yes.
Because of his rebellion, right?
Yes.
The white race was put out of the Middle East and sent into the hills and cave sides of Europe, where they lived for 2,000 years. And so in that span of time, their first 2,000 years on the planet, they lost it due to creating trouble in the Holy Land. So they were cable-towed. You get this in masonry when you cross the burning sands, and even in your Greek letter organizations, you have to cross the burning sands. Well, what that is, you're mimicking the Caucasian race being driven out of the Holy Land into the hills and cave sides of Europe, where they lived and lasted for 2,000 years until Moses came to civilize them and bring them out of the hills and cave sides of Europe and put them on the road to conquest. So the Bible says, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up. So today, as they, whites, that you see today, ruling the sea and the air and the depth of the sea, and now going out into space, just 4,000 years ago, he was living in the caves of Europe. Now today, he rules. But where are we? As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, now the Son of Man, we, the sons of men, are now under their foot, and we now are in a cave-like state, living a savage life of self-hatred, beating and killing and destroying each other to the joy of our enemies. So today, we have to be lifted up by the presence of God in a prophet or a messenger, and the last messenger is to be a man like Moses.
All right. All right. Given what is happening in the world today with the profiling of people from the Arab nations, and given that you as the leader, the commander of the Nation of Islam, which is not necessarily aligned to the Orthodox Islam, the Nation of Islam, are they being profiled in America because of aligning with a name like Islam, or is it just some Americans who has done all them time and is not a threat to the American society?
No, we are Muslims, and we connect to what is called Orthodox Islam. We believe in Allah, we believe in the Quran, we believe in Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. We believe in him as the last of the prophets, but the Quran says that in every nation God has raised a messenger. Here we are in America and in the Caribbean. We have never had a divine warner from God to visit us, to reform us, to lift us up, to fulfill the scripture that the bottom rail would come to the top and the last would be the first. And thou shalt no longer be the tail, but you shall be the head, for this is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our sight. The difference between us and what is called Orthodox Islam is that we believe that the Mahdi, that the Islamic world is looking for, has appeared in America in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. We believe that that Mahdi that came raised up a messenger for the black man of America, but in his mission is a message to the whole of the human family.
So, all right, let me put it straight now. Because most of the times when you talk to an Orthodox, or so-called Orthodox Muslim, they reject the term black Muslim or Nation of Islam, referring to the group or the organized body in America that you are the leader for. You are saying now that it is the same thing, but that you have recognized and identified a man in this time who is the Mu'ajin in America.
Well, I like the way you said it. Yes, that is true. We reject the term black Muslim. Okay. We never called ourselves black Muslim. Mm-hmm. That was a man by the name of C. Eric Lincoln, a preacher who did research and wrote the book and called us the black Muslims in America. That title, you know how when you grow up in a family and they call you the black sheep?
Yes.
You're the one that is not as good as the other sheep.
Yes. So it's a derogative term then.
That's right. But we are black. And we are Muslim.
Yes.
But when they used the term black Muslim, that was directly said to separate us from the world of Islam,
yes,
which has black, brown, red, yellow, and white people as part of the world of Islam.
But you don't think that is part, that is one of the things that you is responsible for in terms of identifying specifically with black, therefore kind of neglecting the races, as how you say Islam, the Orthodox Muslims are. You specifically deal with black people.
That is correct.
And not necessarily wanting to bring other races to the fold.
Well, in truth, Brother Muta, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mission was us first.
Yes.
Because in America, not so much in the Caribbean, because as I mentioned when I spoke to the students of theology at the University of the West Indies tonight, I said to them that Elijah Muhammad said to us, what it takes the black man in America 6 years to learn, the black man in the Caribbean will learn it in 6 months. The black people in America were so completely destroyed under slavery and the system of segregation and Jim Crow and laws that were made and put on the books that a black man will never rise. In fact, in a book by Richard Embry called Brown Americans, in the Virginia House of Delegates, one of the members of the House of Delegates said, and I'm quoting now, that they have, for all intents and purposes, put the black man in such a condition that light will never enter his mind, so that we would be perpetual slaves in the American society to white people. And that almost is perfectly true, because even in 2011, our people in America are still begging white people to do for us what we could unite and do for ourselves. Now, I want to get, Brother Muta, to the term Nation of Islam. And now I'm speaking not only to you, but to Orthodox Muslims. In the second surah of the Quran, when Abraham and Ishmael rebuilt the foundation of the house called the Kaaba, which is the spiritual focal point of all Muslims in Mecca, they made a prayer. And Ishmael and Abraham prayed to Almighty God Allah, asking him to accept their work and to make them Muslims and to raise from their offspring a nation of Muslims. Now, when Prophet Muhammad was raised by God in Arabia, he started the nation of Islam. He didn't start Saudi Arabia or Egypt or Morocco or Algeria or other Muslim countries. His idea was to bring people into faith, that there would be no more boundaries that would separate one man from another, that we would be one nation under God, a nation of Islam in complete submission to the will of God. And that nation of Islam is really referred to in biblical scripture as the kingdom of heaven, which is a kingdom on earth under the rules and laws of God.
So you don't think that that is an irony then, that you saying what you're saying now, but in terms of the practice of the nation of Islam as we see it in America, white people is not, is it, all right, I can put it another way. Is it that white people is not accepted in the nation of Islam as put out by Farrakhan, or is it that is Farrakhan saying that white people cannot be a part of it?
No, white people are already Muslims. What I mean,
I'm talking about
in the nation of Islam.
In America.
Not right now.
Black Muslims. What they call black Muslims.
Not right now. We have Mexicans in the nation. We have Puerto Ricans in the nation.
Yeah.
We have people from different parts of the world in the nation of Islam in America under my leadership.
Yes.
And I have white people writing me, telling me that they believe in the teachings and wish to follow me. But I haven't brought them in to the nation of Islam as such. But during Salatul Juma or Juma prayer, everybody that is a Muslim, no matter what your color is, you're welcome. But it's like inviting somebody into your bathroom when you're trying to wash up and prepare yourself to meet the world.
Yes.
The black man is messed up.
Yes.
And so Elijah Muhammad took us away from the world, put us in a place where he could reform us and civilize us, and then enter us back in among the best in civilized society. And in that case, I'm saying any white person who wants to believe in Allah and follow the Sunnah or the actions of the Prophet and the word of the Prophet are welcome in Islam. And I'm saying this to you, Muta, because I know my words are recorded. I visited all over the world, and every Muslim country accepted me, not only as a Muslim, but when I was in Mecca at the holy house of Islam, the young Muslims that knew that Farrakhan was in Mecca during Ramadan, the last 10 nights of Ramadan, I was in Mecca. They broke down barriers to get to me, just to touch me, to know that a voice of Islam has come up in the West that is unafraid to speak truth to power. So yes, I have been accepted all over the world, and the best Muslims that I found them in Dagestan, in Russia, and they were white Muslims, but they were ready to die to protect me and those with me.
Okay.
So I have white Muslim brothers, and I honor them and respect them as my brother in faith. And that's the teachings of Elijah Muhammad as well.
All right. So we reach a point where we talk about black people not reaching anywhere, especially in America. Given what is happening in America now, and given that the euphoria of Obama seems to be dwindling, when he was just elected, or before he was elected, it was like the Messiah has come. We know that Farrakhan is always speaking in mind. Tell me about your view now, in this present time, of this black man being the king of Babylon, as we would call it in Jamaica.
That's a very good statement, Muta.
Yes.
Because anytime a black man run for the office of Pharaoh, or run for the office of the king of Babylon, and you know in the book of Revelations, it tells you that there's a mystery Babylon that was like a golden chalice on the outside, but filth and abomination of every kind on the inside. My brother, Barack Obama, was selected before he was elected. The man was a great organizer in Chicago. He became a senator, a state senator, then a United States senator. And one of the young men that is a doctor of education in our school in Chicago told me that when he was over all of the charter schools that were coming up in Chicago, he met a Jewish man who told him that in a little while Barack Obama would be president of the United States. I don't know whether you followed this in American politics, but a Jewish writer wrote and said that as black people thought that Bill Clinton was their first black president, Jewish people felt that Barack Obama was their first Jewish president. It was the people of Goldman Sachs and Wall Street that gave him a lot of money and support. So when he became president, as a constitutional lawyer, but not an economist, with the economy in such bad shape, he reached for Timothy Geithner as his minister of finance and economics. He comes out of Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, yes. Larry Summers, the former head of the Federal Reserve. All of these people were his advisors, and it was they who advised him to take out this special loan of over $800 billion, and they were telling him that if he didn't borrow this money, America's economy would fall and we would be in a recession worse than the one in the 1930s. So he believed that, and he borrowed the money. And the money never went to bail out the people that needed it most. Yes. It bailed out Wall Street and the bankers. And so now the economy is $15 trillion in debt, and the American people are angry with Obama, but it was not Obama that really put them in bad shape. America was in bad shape when he became president, and now they're in worse shape because he listened to their advice. And so my brother, Barack Obama, when he was campaigning, you know how beautiful he was. You know how all of us felt proud that this black man from America with a white mother and an African father would become the president of the United States. But the one good thing that our brother has done, he has freed the minds of all our young people to know that they don't have to just be basketball players, football players, track stars, golf stars, singers and dancers. They can rule. And so for that alone, we have benefited. But since he has been in office, I am sorry, his popularity in Africa with the killing of Muammar Gaddafi, his popularity in the Muslim world is gone down, down, down. And unfortunately, even in America, the Republicans are determined that he will only be a one-term president.
I shouldn't keep you too long, but you know, say anytime we're ready to talk, we have a lot of things to talk about. So I don't want to make you tiredness.
Well, my brother, you know, Muta.
I really need to ask you some questions, and I don't want you the time go. Well,
ask me one or two more, and then I'll go get some rest.
Yeah, all right. I want to touch upon Gaddafi, because I know that you and Gaddafi was very close. You know, over the years, you know, Gaddafi and you seem to mention a whole heap of things, but your president side with a group of people and murder him, really. If you speaking to Jamaica right now, to Obama, what would you say to Obama about the situation that Obama put the world in getting rid of Gaddafi?
Well, I would say this, Brother Muta. When Brother Gaddafi was assassinated, Libya had no debt.
Yes.
Everything in Libya was paid for.
Light bill.
Here's a man that was building infrastructure. He spent $33 billion bringing water up out of the desert, man, and allowing people along the coast from Tobruk and Benghazi all the way almost to the border of Tunisia to have water. People had free housing, free medical attention, free education, and from the oil money, every Libyan had money deposited in their account from the oil that is under their foot. That man loved Africa so much that the idea of Kwame Nkrumah, of a United States of Africa that was picked up by Gamal Abdel Nasser and then Sekou Touré and others. Now Gaddafi was pushing the African Union to bring about the United States of Africa.
With an African
Did you know,
money. With an African money.
Yes.
In gold.
Did you know, brother, I'm sure you do, that anytime you call Africa, you would have to go through Europe. And Europe was getting $500 million a year just from our trying to call Africa, or Africa trying to call Europe, America, or anywhere else. Gaddafi put up $300 million, and other African nations put up $100 million, and they put up an African satellite where you can dial Africa direct. The last time that I was in Africa to the meeting of the African Union, there was for the first time prime ministers from the Caribbean. And Brother Gaddafi promised that he would set up a bank in the Caribbean, a Caribbean Development Bank, and put $1 billion in it so that the Caribbean could borrow money from the Caribbean Development Bank and not pay the exorbitant interest that is charged by the the World Bank and the Monetary Fund. And what they felt, that this man who had 146 tons of gold, and he was tying gold now to the Libyan dinar, and was trying to get other oil-producing countries to tie their dollar or their money to gold.
Which would eradicate the US dollar. That would eradicate
That
the US
is
dollar.
correct.
Yes.
So that man had to go. And so, unfortunately, the last time I had a real serious meeting with him, the sanctions were lifted. He was meeting with Berlusconi. He was meeting with Tony Blair. He was meeting with Sarkozy. In fact, he gave money to get Sarkozy elected as the president of France. But all of the time, they were sucking him into a trap. And when I last spoke to him, I said, brother, they will never forgive you. And they will seek to destroy not only you, but the revolution that you started. Yeah. And he patted me on my thigh as if to say, I understand. But in reality, that is exactly what they've done. And Africa now has taken several steps backward. And because he loved Africa and spent billions of dollars in development in Africa and was setting up an African Development Bank in CERT where he was depositing $70 billion for African development. Then he united with the diaspora and wanted the diaspora to be represented in the African Union.
Yes, yes.
So to kill that man was one of the worst things that Brother Barack Obama could have done. Because Barack said that this man is illegitimate. He kills his own people. But Bush, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, all of them lied to the American people that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So they go to war with Iraq. They kill hundreds of thousands of Iraqi citizens, and many young Americans died on the basis of a lie. Is that not killing your own people for oil?
Yes.
See, so what he has done, he has served the interests of the colonial masters to give them again what happened in 1898 or so when they had the Berlin Conference and decided to carve up Africa for the benefit of Europe. Now they're doing it again for the benefit of Western powers. But I can tell you, Muta, as I leave this program, and I thank you from the depth of my heart for your questioning of me, because there's so much more that you and I could talk about if we had more time.
Can I ask you one more thing here?
Yes, dear brother.
One more thing, and this is really striking to the heart of a lot of people here. I was given a tape where you was talking about the Nation of Islam ladies not wanting them to be with African men from Africa, and also that our ear represent a kind of disease. Is that true? Because we have a tape here where, I don't know if it's your voice, but you can tell me if it is you who made us tape.
No, you know what? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned the women in our group that culturally there's a difference. And in marriage, in order for marriage to work, two people have to be on the same page, not sexually, but spiritually and culturally. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when we married our brother and sister from Africa, after a while, it did not work. I personally saw and conducted the marriage of one of our sisters to a brother from Africa that I brought to the United States. I brought him to this country. I met him in Nigeria as a student. He now has a doctorate degree. He had many beautiful children from this sister, but they are no longer together. Well, those things happen. Yeah. But then you have some Muslims who were looking for a green card. And I was in Africa, and a highly placed brother asked me if I could set up one of the sisters in the Nation of Islam so that he could get a green card. Yeah. And as God is my witness, I got so angry, I told him, brother, I will kill you
but
over our women.
But Mr. Farrakhan, it sounded to me on the tape like you was totally discrediting Africans.
No.
By saying that, why are we trying to follow African traditions? Why are we having our ear like that? We must cut it off. I don't know if I can play the tape still if you want.
No, you have to play that tape again.
All right.
And listen carefully
All right,
to my words.
Let me play it here. Because
You are not to follow the styles of Africa. Allah didn't raise you up today to copy the style of Africa. The black man in America, if you understand prophecy, is the prodigal son. The prodigal son, when he goes home, he gets the robe and the ring, and he accepts rulership over the house. You cannot lead your brothers if you follow your brothers. It is written in the scripture, thou shalt no longer be the tail, thou shalt be the head. So here you are now wanting to pick up the discarded culture and customs and traditions of ancient Africa, which does not add to you in the modern world of wisdom. It takes away from you because the African does not respect you, because you're 400 years removed from Africa. And as you've been a second-class American citizen all your life, now you've given up your second-class American citizenship for a second-class African citizenship. So you've been a white man's fool, now you're a black man's fool. So where in the heck have you progressed? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wants no people on the earth to make mockery of you. And when they meet a Muslim, they don't mock us. If they meet us in a suit, they got to respect our wisdom. Because we know why we're wearing the suit and why we don't wear the booba. You will never see the followers of Elijah Muhammad growing our hair all up off our head like a mop or a bird nest to prove to whitey man that we are proud of our kinky hair. Or what you call wearing a natural. What else is it? It's natural, isn't it? Well, man, you don't have to let it grow wild.
Yeah, that is Louis Farrakhan, all right. Those are my exact words. And go back and get the year that I said it.
Yes.
But look, at that time, we were wearing afros. And we were growing our head like a bush over our head. This was not Rasta, man.
No, yeah, no, I know what I said.
This was a bush.
Yeah, but what's wrong? I am saying, what's wrong with that people finding their identity and wearing this bush?
But then you keep on growing. Because when you have a new wisdom, it produces a new culture. Let me give you an example.
But what is the new culture between Bobo? A lot of people in Jamaica don't know what's a Bobo, but it's a traditional dress in Africa. The coat and the tie is a European perception. And the Bobo is an African thing. Why are you saying that, you will never see a Muslim, a Nation of Islam person in a Bobo, as if that Bobo is something that we must reject and really deal with?
Well, let me put it like this. Yeah. Brother, if I were making that talk today, I wouldn't make it like that.
Okay.
You were listening to Farrakhan in the 70s. There's a lot of truth in what I said.
Yeah.
But we are to set styles now.
Yes. But setting style don't mean you must wear a suit.
No, hell no.
But that's what the Nation of Islam is identified with.
But look,
suit, not a bobo.
Let me say this. The Quran says it like this. Mm-hmm. We never send a messenger, but that he speaks the language of the people to whom he is sent.
Yes.
We live in America.
Yes.
So if I dressed in an African attire,
yes,
I'm already now communicating to the person that's looking at me something.
Yes.
They could say, oh, he's an African, or they could say whatever they think. But I'm communicating by my dress.
Yes.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked his followers to put on a suit and a tie and dress like the business people of the world, because he was going to make us into a business people. However, he designed clothes for us that was not a suit and a tie. And I designed clothes for us that was not a suit and a tie. And if you look at the women, how the women were dressed, they're dressed decently, but not the same as our brothers and sisters on the continent. But I would say, brother, we respect our African culture.
So we're agreeing that you wouldn't say...
No, I wouldn't say it like that today.
Because
Paul was a great teacher.
Yes.
But when Paul got to a certain stage of development, Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child because I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
I respect that. I totally respect what you're saying now, and it leave me make my heart feel nicer towards what I hear, because I mean, there's a lot, when I played it, a lot of people was very angry in Jamaica when we played it, to hear that Farrakhan is saying that.
But when did you play it?
You know, it's about a month ago.
Oh, God. You played something a month ago that I spoke in the 70s.
Yeah, but you see, things go around, you know. Things go around.
Well, it's okay, though. Yeah. I would be glad to sit and defend the truth of what I said and, of course, graduate from those things that I said that today I would not say.
Give thanks, Bridget. So I want to make you go sleep now, and it's a long time I don't see you, though. Long time I don't see you.
But Muta,
yes,
it is always a pleasure, man.
Yes.
Not only to see you, but to hear you.
Yes.
And I loved your line of questioning.
Give thanks.
May God continue to bless you and bless those with you, and I look forward to seeing you again and again.
It's basically Cuban-American folks immigrated here in the 1880s.
Yes, sir. Very pleased to meet you. Are we
okay.
rolling?
Yes, sir. Please finish your last statement there.
If the Jewish community wielded this power for the total good of the whole, which takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline and a lack of selfishness, I believe that by the grace of Almighty God, if we were ever in that position, given the suffering that we have endured, I don't think that I could lead in the self-interest of blacks to the detriment of others. I would hope that if I were ever tried in that I could deal justly and fairly according to a law that granted all of us the right to express and to grow as fully as we could. I don't see this in that inordinate use of power.
I have a newspaper article in which you are quoted as calling Hitler a great man. Is that an accurate quote?
It is accurate. And I stand by what I said, only I said more than that. You know, God puts His greatness in all of us. There are people in the media who are absolutely magnificent in their work. That's greatness. It's not their greatness, it's the greatness of God. The question is, how do you use your gift? Hitler definitely was a great man. Great in the sense that that man's work has spanned time. People are talking about Hitler 40 years after his demise. They're writing books about Hitler. Black people don't. It is white people who do. There's a fascination with Hitler. I think it was in Newsweek magazine. I can't remember the news reporter who wrote that our fascination with Hitler. I think it was this guy Wills.
George Wills.
George Wills. So I'm saying that you're not fascinated with Hitler because he had no greatness. You're fascinated with Hitler because he had greatness. Now, how did Hitler use his greatness? That's the question that is left out of my statement. Hitler was great, but I said he was wickedly great.
Okay, that's what I want to qualify. You mean not, people associate great with good, and great doesn't always mean good.
Of course
not. It means larger than life or whatever.
That's correct.
And is that a fair...
That's correct. Now, when you read the Bible, and there are many in this audience who read the Bible, in Revelations it calls Babylon the Great, but she was not Babylon the Good. So Egypt was great, but God destroyed her. She was not good. America is great. Let us try to make her good. She's not good. So greatness is not synonymous with goodness, and any scholar of the English language knows this. But colloquially speaking, great is synonymous with good in a slang sense. How you feel? I feel great. That means you feel good. So, but those writers knew what I was saying, but they wanted to misuse my words to affect Jesse Jackson's campaign in a negative way.
So Louis Farrakhan's not getting a fair shake all the time. Is that what you're saying? Is that?
Oh, I think people are doing what they are going to do. And it's fair, I guess, because I'm surviving. You know, no matter what they try to do to me, God blesses me to, like the cat, to land on my feet, so it's fair.
You call yourself a scholar, and you obviously are a very learned man. Did you go to college? Is this a formal education
No,
process?
I don't call myself a scholar at all. I was formally educated. I went to college, but I didn't finish. I finished my 3rd year.
Where'd you go?
I went to Winston-Salem Teachers College in North Carolina. In my senior year, I got married, rather, in my junior year, and I left school to feed my growing little family, which has grown quite a bit.
You're married? And how many children?
I'm married 31 years and have 9 children and 14 grandchildren. But I say that, of course, to answer your question, that I'm a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, whom I believe is one of the greatest teachers that has come among us. And what I have learned as a result of his teaching has given me an insatiable desire for knowledge. And so every day of my life I try to learn something more today than I did yesterday. And this is within the grasp of every human being, to become scholarly.
I think a lot of people, in seeing you in the limited ways that we do, you know, we have this one image of you, yet, I mean, you laugh, you smile, you tell jokes. Would you describe yourself, I mean, the real personal side? Are you a funny man? What do you like? Do you go to movies? These are the things that intrigue me, that I want to know.
Well, I think that any person that doesn't have a sense of humor is pretty dull. Yes, I laugh and I cry and I'm human. I would hope that persons who are looking at this telecast who may be Jewish would listen to Louis Farrakhan and not become so emotionally upset that they see me as a man who is hateful of Jewish people. I actually admire Jews. I think for a small group that is so cohesive and so strong and so committed to certain principles that have lifted them above and beyond, that is admirable. And when you admire certain qualities and characteristics in people, you take the best that you can and you use it to advance yourself in your own cause. I sometimes go to a movie. I try to pick the movies that I go to. I love good music, and I listen to music.
What's good music? Is it classical music, pop music?
Good music is anything that I think has a good end. Quiet and contrary to what most people think, I like Michael Jackson. I think he's one of the greatest of our performers. But I also like Bach and Beethoven and Chopin. And I am an admirer. Jascha Heifetz was my idol as a violinist. And I don't know, they have many great violinists today. Itzhak Perlman, I like his playing exceedingly well. And
could you have been a professional violinist? You went quite far. I mean, you obviously had talent.
Yes, I could have been. I could have done a lot of things, but in truth, the passion that I have to see black people free overrides my passion for music. As I played my music, I used to give a lot of joy to people. But I think there's a greater joy in truth. There's a greater joy in freeing the minds of people and seeing people rise above themselves and their condition. And if I, in my short life on this earth, or however long God has for me, can use truth, not in a way of evil, but use truth with the motive to free men and women from ignorance, whether they are black or white, and improve the quality of life, or help people to be able to improve the quality of their own lives, then my living and my being will not have been in vain.
You seem to want to spread this message, yet the religion is very secretive in that, well, you said, you know, you couldn't talk about numbers because you yourself didn't quite know how many there were. And for instance, now we wanted to go to a service here a few weeks ago, and I don't mean to sound like they wouldn't let us in. That's understandable. It's private. I mean, we have no right to go in there. But whereas, and somebody else might say, sure, why not? It's very... Is that an accurate perception? Seems very
accurate.
Closed, very closed.
Well, you could
quiet.
say closed. You know, like a hospital is closed. You just don't visit the hospital with a television camera. You don't visit the insane asylum with a television camera. Well, what are you saying, Farrakhan? I'm saying that my brothers and sisters, our people, are sick. We're not sick because we were born sick. We're sick because we were made sick by the conditions under which we live. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his teachings to us, established an asylum, a hospital, a sanitarium, if you will, for us to go in and hear a message and clean up our lives and become civilized, where our behavior would not be an affront to other intelligent black people or white or brown or red or yellow people around the world. So when a person is sick, you take them out of society, you close them off, especially if their disease is communicable, and you get them well, and then you bring them back into society. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through his method of teaching, separated us from the larger society to cleanse us from the former ills that we were involved in. For instance, those who truly practice the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, you don't see us smoking, we won't drink, we won't use drugs, we don't commit fornication or adultery, we don't beat our wives, we are very respectful of the family and family life, we love knowledge, we love to learn, we love to promote the good things that will elevate our people. Well, this is in effect civilizing us as a people, that your people and other people will feel good to have us sit with you and talk with you and share with you. And the world community will feel good with us in their presence. Right now, the world community can accept our learned men and women, our learned scholars, but the world community will not accept our little brothers and sisters on the street corner because their conduct is not felt to be civilized. But that is not their fault, but the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will make a jewel out of black people and any people who will listen.
Why do you need all these people around you? I know a lot of people are saying, who are those people? What are they here for? What are they doing? Is it necessary that you travel with all these people? I'm sure they each have their own function. But when a lot of people come here who are well-known, and let me say this in quotes, are notorious, they don't come with a whole cadre of people. Is it because you receive threats and you need to be protected? I'm not quite sure.
You know, if the president were to visit you, and he is the head of this country, the Secret Service would have visited you before the president. And if the Pope were to visit you, his security would visit you before he visited you. I'm certainly not equating myself with the Pope or with the president, but I do have value among our people. And it is unfortunate that in this society, when you have someone of value, you should never place that person of value around thieves or robbers without protection. And Mr. President, Mr. Reagan, was shot just a few years ago. The Pope was shot. We lost Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and even Mr. Wallace, the governor of Alabama, was shot. We live in a society where violence is the order of the day. And when people don't like what you say, even though you have the right to say it, they don't seem to want to react intelligently, to respond with intelligence to your intelligence. It sometimes produces an extreme reaction which leads to hostility and violence.
Are you ever afraid of that type of reaction?
I don't think about it.
But you know there are a lot of people out there who say, I want to get Louis Farrakhan.
Well, I'm sure that there are. And my brothers who are around me recognize the kind of society in which we live. And therefore, they come to watch out for my life. But the best watcher is God himself. And I put my life completely in his hands, and my trust is in him. And whenever it pleases him that my work among the people is over, then I shall go the way of all flesh, as even those who seek to take my life have to go that way, so death doesn't cheat anybody.
Is that Is Farrakhan your Muslim name?
Yes, it is.
Can I ask what your name you were born with?
Yes, my name at birth was Louis Eugene Walcott. And the reason we don't take the last name, as your name is Huggins, you know, when our fathers were brought here into slavery, the slave masters did not allow the father to name his own child, which was too much for the slave to have that power that the children would wear his name, nor did they allow our mothers to teach us our own mother tongue. So here we have 30 million black people who have grown up in this country with no knowledge of our own language and no knowledge of our own names. So if we were owned by Mr. Brown, and that afternoon we were bought by Mr. Jackson, well, we gave up the name Brown and we became Jackson. So here we are 100 years up from slavery, wearing the names of our former slave masters. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that if we are a free people, we should go in our own people's names. And we believe that we are the people of Almighty God, so we should wear the attributes of our Creator.
So my people, this one was indeed an interesting one. So feel free to leave an honest comment down in the comment section. And also your own opinion. And you don't know say, me dey upon the Black Unity program. So feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. If you're new, bless up to each and every one. Up until then, peace out. Adios.